let's just wait and see. Wait, why is it? Oh, yeah. Wow. Wait, no. That's weird. Because it went... Yeah, Twitch went from being online to being, you know, not online, like sending data. But we're now live. Okay, so... let's bring this over here and this back here. Okay, so... This one's gonna be a little bit different. Oh, this is me thinking I'd set up my thing, but I've not. So yeah, this is gonna be a little bit different. Yeah, so hello and welcome to another session of Update, where I talk about, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically updates of crypto slash Cardano. In this particular instance, I'm not actually going to be showing a video. This video is the same one from previous, from the video I just did moments ago. The difference here is that basically what happened before is I relied on the wireless connection for Wi-Fi, which I should not have. I should have known better, and sort of relied on a wired connection, and so now I'm on a wired connection via Ethernet, so the stream is not just gonna cut off. But of all places it could have cut off, it cut off at a decent place right after I'd actually completed the sort of commentary on the video, and what was left was just me sort of giving my closing remarks, so to speak. And that's what I'm going to be doing in this one. And basically what I was arriving at, it cut off at the point where saying, as I'm recording this today, Uganda is having, or was having, its national elections. And much like what Ethiopia did not that long ago, Uganda decided to cut off the internet. Basically the government, or at least from what has been reported, the government ordered a bunch of ISPs, or internet service providers, to suspend basically connection to the internet. It's really disappointing whenever such things happen, and it's interesting because it's a tendency that governments tend to have, and actually I'm quite surprised that in America they didn't do that, given that there's been quite some weird stuff happening over there from a political standpoint, right? And if history has taught us anything, it's that whenever there's sort of disagreement, it's not about censoring. The solution is actually better speech, right? Not less speech. So it's about filtering and being able to come to a happy sort of consensus in understanding when it comes to communication, as opposed to just cutting it all off. So yeah, so what crypto and decentralized ledger technology actually enables is for us to get to a place where actually even the nature of connectivity, because more and more of our lives is becoming digitized, and you can imagine a point in the future where it's so much so of our identity, of our interactions, communication, of our purchases, the financial history, just everything is basically digitized. Health, right? Medical history. So what's gonna shift is the connectivity, the value or the nature of one's right to access to this connected sort of world. And yeah, So yeah, that's just a quick aside. The key thing I actually want to talk about here is economic empowerment and the emergent properties that come from that, right? So um, the obvious ones are things like, you know, votes, not vote, votes, loans, security, etc. And um, it helps to actually, you know, consider that with economic empowerment, things like the internet are no longer going to be centralized, right? One thing that I know that Africa is awesome at, or at least Kenya, well, Africa actually in general, is that they're quite, the spirit of Africa is that of being quite inventive, right? Like, given the information, like even minimal information, like, you know, folks would be able to create a satellite, right, and actually, you know, figure out a way to connect to, say, Starlink or something, you know, moving to the future, even creating mesh networks, right? So mesh networks are basically sort of a localized internet, right, where you'd only kind of need one or a few points which actually just point outward to the wider internet, but then locally, you know, everyone else is kind of connected to each other. Yeah, so connectivity is super important. The decentralized world environment enables this, right? So in things like elections, or I don't know, you know, other sort of situations where, you know, as we move more, you know, as we move into the future, where we're going to have more and more of our information and more dependent on sort of this digitized information, sort of connected world, we just cannot afford to have the vulnerability of having it be centralized and have a select few, basically, you know, at the spigot, you know, at the tap, so to speak, saying you get to have some, you don't, kind of thing, right? So that's the kind of power that should not be relegated to a human, let alone a few humans. So that's one point. Now, to come back to this idea of the emergent properties, an idea that I just kind of want to quickly share here is what I think, you know, we're gonna start to see is this sort of like ecosystem emerge, right? Where, you know, starting off, say, from being able to have an identity, right? So a decentralized identity. From that, what then happens is that you're able to have a history of how trustworthy you are, right? In terms of, say, repayment of, you know, sort of like loans, or, you know, different kind of things. As well as actually enabling people to have better savings, better loans, etc. And in doing so, in creating such financial services, one emergent property, or like a little interesting thing here, is, you know, in a money marketplace, I suppose we'll start to see a dynamic such as this exist, where you have folks who have, say, a little bit of money, so a little bit of capital, and they're looking to have their money make more, right, to generate more capital. They're then in a position to actually really offer their money at a really cheap rate, which then means that more people who are looking to borrow will borrow from them, and then slowly but surely they'll actually, you know, start to amass more capital from the little bit of capital that, you know, the initial capital that they had, even at a small percent of interest, right? Say, compared to someone who has more money, who's like, you know what, I have more money, I have more at stake, so actually I am going to I'm going to make it more expensive to borrow my money, right? So that would be borrowing that money at a higher percent of interest. And it doesn't even have to be that big. Like, it can be the difference between like 1 and 2%, right? Because it compounds, right, depending on how long you're borrowing and how much you're borrowing. So there's that dynamic, right, which is going to basically mean that more people are then going to be in a better position to actually start to come out of sort of economic hardships. So that's one sort of interesting cycle, and then from that, right, you can imagine people starting businesses, right, in their local community, and in doing so, getting a sense of purpose in their own lives. And in addition to that, right, waking up in the morning with a sense of purpose, and being a valued member of the community, they have this valuable thing, right? So socially, mentally, personally, emotionally, but also economically, they have this asset within the community, which is their business, their shop, which is something which they now have at stake, right? So it means that they care about the community, and in some way, you know, the clients who they serve also then in turn care about them, right? And then, so, you know, this then, you know, creates an environment where people are able, say, to buy land, to build a house, to start a family. All these things are things which people value, and the more value people have at stake, the more people care, and the more people there are who have something at stake. This then just, you know, feeds back into this lovely cycle of caring and value. And so, you know, we go from economic empowerment to like social dynamics, which just really, you know, create this environment of security and safety, which, you know, comes about as a byproduct. So that's just a quick idea that I wanted to share, that I feel like isn't usually actually addressed all that much. And I did speak to it on the last video, but obviously because of technical difficulties, that I was not actually able to get that out. But yeah, so that is that. If you found this useful, reach out, let me know, or, you know, show support in whatever way you know, you can, wherever you're watching this. So yeah, and yeah, so the other programs, this is Cast, this is just one of many programs. This one's called Update. And yeah, so I hope it was valuable, and I hope you're having a good day, and I hope to meet you at some point in the future, even if it's just virtually. All right, cheers, take care.